Today we're gonna go through how to create different types of curtain walls within Revit, and then I'll show you how to panelize around curtain walls with MWF builds 7991 and older, and then I'll show you how to panelize curtain walls with MWF build 8221. We've added a really cool feature for 8221, which allows you to create openings at curtain walls automatically, so you're not going to manually create them. All right, so let's get started. So first off, I'm gonna just go ahead into my 3D view, and here you can see I have a really nice looking building. So typically, if you were to draw a curtain wall, I'll just show you the 3 different types, right? So you can see right now here, if I click on it, it is a storefront curtain wall, right? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go to level 1 here. And I'm going to draw 3 walls. So I'm going to just draw a brick wall, and I'll show you how to, not the CMU, let's do it with metal studs. So I'm just going to show you how to draw a few brick walls. So let's go ahead and draw like a 15-foot long brick wall here. And I'm just going to copy this over 3 times. So I'm going to copy it over by 30. Then I'm going to copy it again over by 30. That's fine. Okay, so we have 3 brick walls here. And now, if I wanted to draw a curtain wall, I can just go ahead and click on wall again. And it's as simple as selecting a type of wall. So I'm going to go ahead at the bottom here, and you'll see that it's something called curtain wall. So I'm going to select the very first one that says curtain wall, and I'm going to just draw all 3 of them out in the 3 walls. So very first one, curtain wall. And I'm going to set the base constraint to be 1 foot offset from level 1 so that it creates a nice little sill. And then for the top constraint, I want it to be dropped below level 2 by 1 foot, just so we can have a header condition that we can apply there. All right. So here, I'm just going to place it 1 foot away. And I'm going to make it actually 13 feet. Let's do that. Okay. So we have a nice little curtain wall placed here. Oops, that's not supposed to happen. Sorry. I was testing something. It's fine. So basically, let me just go to this one and test it out again. Thought I did it fine here. So we're going to draw the wall again, and we're going to make it 15. And I'm going to just test 1 curtain wall here again. And that will be that one. Let's go ahead and draw that out at 1 foot and then 13 and enter. All right, so that's actually what I wanted it to do. So you'll notice that I drew the curtain wall there. You'll notice that I drew the curtain wall, but it didn't cut a hole in the wall, right? And that's because there's an option that you have to enable in order for it to cut the wall. So I'm going to show you how to create the curtain wall in this file, because I think in the other file I modified it a little bit, but it's fine. So we'll just go ahead and do that here. So I'm going to just copy this wall over again by, let's say 20 this time. And then again, copy this wall over by 20. So now we have just the brick walls, and then the first one we created was the curtain wall. All right. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and create similar, and we're going to create the exterior glazing, and I'll follow the same rules, 1 foot away, and I'll make it 13 feet. Enter, and you'll see that again, it didn't cut a opening in the wall. Same thing. I'm going to repeat, create similar. I'm just going to make it a storefront this time. And again, start at 1 foot, and I'll make it 13 feet long. And this one, you'll notice that it actually cuts an opening in the wall. So there's an option that's enabled in the storefront curtain wall type that allows it to embed itself automatically into the wall. So what it's basically doing is it's using the Revit cut command to cut the opening in the wall, but it's not a real opening. So as the size of the curtain wall changes, the opening size will automatically be modified. So technically it's embedding it into the wall. So if I go ahead and hit edit type, Here you'll notice there's an option called automatically embed. So that's the option that's enabled. If I was to disable that option and apply, nothing will happen right now because it's already done the cut. But for the next time I draw it, it would actually affect the panel. All right, so I'm going to leave this on for automatically embed. The other options you have here are you can choose your default curtain panel type. So here you have two options. You have two system panel options. One of them is a glazed panel, which is glass and it's see-through. The other one's a solid panel. So solid panels are typically used for spandrels, you know, to block the plenum space. So like if you see those really tall towers, you'll notice that they might have a small section of the windows that are tinted, and those are spandrel panels. So to show those in Revit, you'll use the solid glass or the solid system panel, okay? In our case, we want it to be glazed, we want it to be storefront, we want it to be glass. You can also replace it with a specific type of wall. So I've seen some clients use this to replace it with a specific type of wall as well. When you are trying to create an architectural feature and you don't want to use reveals or sweeps, they will use a curtain panel like this, and then they'll replace the glass panel with their product that they're using. So maybe there's like a plastic vinyl panel or vinyl panel that they're planning on using on the outside of the building to create an architectural feature. They might switch it up to a material that is not clear or not a glass material. It might be something different. So it gives you the option to create a wall with that different material, and you can choose a wall. So you can make a generic 5-inch wall as your curtain panel, okay? You have join conditions here. So join conditions basically explain it's what line or what grid of your panels do you want to have continuous. So as you can tell, for a curtain wall, you'll have a grid pattern, correct? Because it's glass, or it's like a window almost, right? So you could have a vertical grid be continuous, and then all the horizontal ones will break whenever it hits a vertical grid. Or you can have the horizontal grid continuous and the vertical little pieces will break every time it hits a horizontal grid. You can also choose to have your border continuous. So maybe you don't want the border to break because if I choose vertical grid continuous, the horizontal pieces of the border will break at the vertical grid, right? But if you don't want the border to break, you can choose border and vertical grid continuous. So that way the border will remain in one piece or one strip, and then the vertical grids will just butt up against it, okay? So the border won't split in this condition. Then you can specify your layouts of how you want your glazing to be placed. You can specify a fixed distance and say, okay, I want the panels to always be 4 feet. So if you're buying a product that is a specific size, you can specify that size in the spacing here. And then there's an option called adjust for mullion size. So if the mullion size, in this case, it is 2.5 inches wide. So it will accommodate, it will account for the mullion size and then place the fixed distance, okay? So you can work with that. So you have fixed distance as an option, then you have fixed number. So for fixed number, you don't specify it inside the type. You specify it once you draw the wall inside your properties here. So it's like an instance parameter that you populate, and you can specify if you have any angles or justification, where do you want to start the grid pattern, or where do you want to place your first one and spread the pattern accordingly. And you can also specify offsets. Okay, so you can do fixed number, and then you also have something called maximum spacing. I prefer to use maximum spacing because what this allows us to do is, say if you're purchasing glass, maximum size is 6 feet in width. You cannot go larger than 6 feet. I'm going to say my maximum spacing is 6 feet. If the glass size is smaller, that's fine. But if it's larger than 6 feet, we cannot accommodate. So I like to have it specify like a 4 foot or 5 foot maximum spacing, and it'll try to make sure that the size of the glass is less than that number. Okay, so I'm going to do maximum spacing for both of these, and I'm going to make both of them 4 feet. Okay, And again, I'll adjust for mullion size. Here you can choose your different families for your mullions. So if you load in a profile, it will use that profile. By default, it gives you these ones. So it gives you circular, rectangular, and a few rectangular options basically. So it gives you a square one and 2 rectangular options. So you can choose your families over here and use those as your mullions for your storefront. And we can just go ahead and hit OK. And since I have storefront being used in the entirety of the project, it's gonna make this change everywhere right now, but it's okay. Well, that's fine. We'll see what it does. All right, so that's one. The other thing is now for this guy, it's an exterior glazing, right? So let's actually go see this in 3D. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and make my walls transparent. So let's make it 80% transparent. And I want these guys to be 0 and 0. There, good. So now you can see what it looks like. So this is actually cut out, and then over here, the wall is inside of the other wall, and that's just because we haven't checked on automatically embed. So when I check this on, I can make some changes in here too, and I can just go ahead and hit OK, and you'll see that it's embedded. But here for this family or this type, come on, there. For this type, you'll notice that we don't have any mullion types specified. We haven't told it what it needs to be. So you'll notice that it only has a grid there, but it doesn't have any mullions in there. So it has no family in there. So you can use this for something like a spider glass. So it's supported from the inside of the building, and there's no supports on the outside basically. So you won't see anything on the outside. And it's really nice for an architectural feature wall. The other option here is a blank slate. They basically give you just a piece of glass. It has nothing fancy in it. It's just a plain piece of glass. You can go crazy and make it as pretty as you want and modify it as much as you want. So let's go ahead and do that for a really quick second. So we're going to just create a section in front of it. And we'll go ahead and say, let's go to the view for this. Okay, so you can see everything looks pretty here, and we'll make it fine. And as always, I like everything shaded. Okay, maybe consistent colors. And then we'll make our walls transparent to be 80%. Okay, so you can see it's really nice, and it's literally a blank slate, so I can do whatever I want to it. So I can make whatever design I want, whatever shape I want. In our case, what I want to do for this is I want to actually extend this down, and I want to create a door in here, and I want to have 2 windows on the side of the door, and maybe have like a little awning style window at the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the architectural tab, and we are going to click on curtain grid. Okay, so we'll click on curtain grid, and over here it asks you all segments, 1 segment, or all except picked. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw approximately what I want. So I want 1, I want 2, and I want 3 because I want a double door in here. So I did it that way. Now, if I just do 1 segment, it will allow me to only place a segment between 1 grid line. Like it'll pass it only 1 grid line. But if I wanted to do it for all segments, it will create it across all segments. So you'll see that it cuts a space along all segments. Okay, and now again, I'll do a 1 segment, and I'll just say I want 1 more in here. Now, what if I want a double door in here, but I don't really need 2 separate panels to create a double door? So what I want to do is I'm going to select the grid over here, and I'm just going to say, when you click on the grid, it'll ask you to add, it allows you to add remove segments. I'm just going to remove the segment at the bottom, and you'll notice that now I have a nice little condition where I have a window at the top here, window at the top, 2 windows on the side. If I don't want this line here, I could get rid of that as well, but I think this looks okay. So if you want to adjust the heights of everything, the height of my door, I want it to be 7 feet. And then that little gap up there, I actually want it to be a little larger. So maybe I'll make this -1 foot. And you'll see that the grid still remains, right? So now I have nice little windows here, but I want this to be equidistant. So again, I'll do a quick dimension, which is why I went into section view in the first place. So I could do dimensions in here really nicely. And there you go, it's equally distributed and we have a nice little span here. Okay, so we have something like this created. Now, how do I replace it to be a door? So first thing we got to do is import the door. So we'll go ahead and click on Insert, and we're going to go to Load Autodesk Family. All right. So once we go to Load Autodesk Family, we're just going to change our locale from United Kingdom to United States Imperial. And we're going to just go to Doors. And here you'll notice there is Door, Curtain Wall, Double Storefront. So it has the mullions and everything in it. I can use this one, or I can just use this one, which is just double glass. It doesn't have any mullions or anything around it, no frame. But I'm just going to use the one with the frame just so that we have a nice little edge on it. So we'll go ahead and hit load. And once we load, I have to tab and select the panel that I want. Okay. Typically these ones are pinned if you're using it for exterior glazing, or if you've already pre-created a grid pattern. These are always pinned. So you'll have to unpin it and then switch the system panel glazed to be double door storefront. Okay, so you'll notice that that's what that looks like. I'm just going to change this to shaded and make my doors also transparent. Let's do that, okay? There. So there you go. You will see that we have our grid layout and we have our door placed in here. And now if I just click on this, and if I wanted to add mullions to it, I have the option to go to mullions, select the type of mullion I want to use, and just say, I can choose all grid lines and it will place that same mullion everywhere. Or I can just say segment and it will only allow me to select one segment at a time. Or I can just say grid line and it will place it wherever I ask it to place it. Okay. So something like that. And maybe for this, I want it only here, 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 and here. So you have an option. Oops. You have an option to do that as well. Okay. So that's basically how you will create your curtain walls. And now let's go ahead and show you how you can frame the curtain walls when you are in a build older than 7991 or older. Okay, so I'm just going to go back here, and I already have a section drawn in. So I'm going to go to view. So yes, this curtain wall is embedding itself inside the wall, but there's no openings here. So if I actually hover over here and I filter this out, you'll notice there's nothing called openings in here, okay? So basically, since there's no openings in here, NWF doesn't know what to frame, and you can't apply a marker to it because it doesn't know what to frame. So what we're gonna do is create something called wall opening. So we're gonna select the wall, and I like to create a wall opening. I like to typically go a little further than where it is, where the curtain wall actually starts. It'll be close enough, but it's a little farther than where it is actually, just so that it's actually cutting an opening in the brick wall. There you go. So once you do that, you can go ahead and frame it with MWF like you would normally frame any opening. So you can just go ahead and say switch to wall module and just create your panel. So in 2021, the reason I had 2021 open was because I have 7991 here. And I want to show you that I have 7991 because we have disk and project storage spaces in 7991. For 8221, we got rid of that and we've only made it one, which is inside your project. And that's basically how it is set up now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead into light gauge, and we're going to set that as active, and we're going to go ahead and close and create. While this is creating, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat or in the questions box available. Okay. All right. So once we created, the properties show up, and we'll hit OK, and you'll notice that it frames it perfectly. It's missing the bottom cripples or the lower cripples, probably because it is less than our minimum cripple length specified inside the panel properties. So we can go into structural, and then over here we can just set this to 6 inches so it covers that condition. We'll go ahead and hit OK. Give it a little second. And there you go. So it places your cripples for you, and it places the cripples at the top. You can also now click on the opening, which says rectangular straight wall opening. And I don't think I have markers in here. I don't think I've loaded data, but let's see. No, I have not loaded data. So if you do have markers in your project, you can actually apply them to this opening now, and you can frame it the way you like. So if you actually made it a little larger and you want to pull it down, I like to make it a little larger and frame it, and then I can just always align it at the top and at the bottom. Here. You can see I placed it pretty close, but it was not perfect. So we have to go ahead and just make that modification. So here you can see that it's really close. Okay, so that's fine. And then over here, I will select the edge and the edge of the opening, and it will basically align itself. You can regenerate the panel, and it will align itself to that. Now for, we'll come back to this after. So now for, that's fine, okay. So now for 2020, it's not only for 2023, it's for the 8221 and greater. So our latest public build is 8221. So for this build, I think I've already loaded data in this project. Let me just quickly check. So for this, we've come up with a tool within our interference section. So I'm going to go into that in a second. I just want to make sure, yes, I have my markers. We're good. So within the interference section, we have something called clash detection. So we're going to go ahead and use clash detection. And here you'll notice we have an option called curtain walls. This is only available from 8221 onwards. So we've added this as a new feature. And you can always add your rule sets for this. You can assign a clash detection rule set for this. You can choose to treat it as a merged opening. You can use a link for intersecting, but in our case, everything is in this file. So I'm just going to select curtain walls, and I'm going to go ahead and hit the checkbox. And here, I don't want to specify any tolerances because in this model, I only have curtain walls that it's clashing with. So I don't want to set any tolerances. I want it to be 0. And I'm just going to say apply to all. And then I can choose if I want to apply a marker to it. So I'm going to apply, let's see. I'll just apply the default non-bearing, nothing fancy marker to it. So we'll just do default non-bearing marker, and we'll just go ahead and hit OK. So what it did is it went through the entire project. Okay. And if I hover or highlight that area, you'll notice it created a rectangular straight wall opening. Okay, so over here when I select it, you'll see that it is a rectangular straight wall opening, which we just did manually for the previous build. Now if I come here and I go to, if I go to markers and apply opening type, I can change the marker that I want, and I can easily frame this wall with my default template and any template. So I'm just going to go ahead into template. And like I said, 8221, we've removed the disk and project folder storage. Now everything is stored in your project. So you just select your template. We'll go ahead and set as active, close it, create. And again, the same issue will happen with the minimum cripple lengths, which we can update once the properties open up. And that's pretty much it for this week's webinar. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. Rishabh, I'll let you take the floor.
Sure. Thank you, Aparna, for the demonstration. And as she mentions, we'll open the floor for any of your questions. And once again, you can either raise your hand in the GoToWebinar dashboard so that we may unmute you, or you can type it in the questions tab. While we wait for your questions to come in, I would like to invite you to visit our LinkedIn channel at linkedin.com/company/Struxsoft Solutions, where you can find weekly informational content, articles about trending topics, company news, and also where you can view the recorded version of this webinar. Just going to wait a few more seconds to see if any last-minute questions flow in. All right, I do see a question. Where else can we view these recordings? So, well, you can view these recordings first on our social channels. That's on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook by the end of the day today. You can also view this as an email. So we're going to be sending an email tomorrow to all the attendees and the registrants and the non-attendees. So you can view the recording there. And also you can view it on our YouTube channel. So we update all three of these as quickly as we can. So you should be able to view those over there. No problem. One more question. Can you use set wall open mapping rule? Let me repeat that. Can you use set wall open mapping rules with wall openings?
So do you mean within the templates, or do you mean within clash detection? Because you can, there's two different within the template. Yes, you can. It's just called, let me just go to the plan view, or let me go to the 3D view. So if I go inside the panel properties, you'll see that it's just called openings because it's a rectangular shape wall opening. So it treats it similar to duct opening almost. So yes, you can go into opening framing. If you're using a condition map, it'll be something like single opening. If I use condition map, it'll be something like single opening is what you'll assign your marker to. Or you can, if you're using rule sets over here, you can just call it, it's just going to be an opening. It's nothing to do with, it's not creating a window or a door. It's creating an opening within the rule sets. Does that answer your question? I think it is this. Here. Yes, perfect. Single opening is what you will treat it as, basically. Any other questions?
I think that was it for the questions. I don't think there are any new questions. So we shall wrap up the webinar today. However, in case you find yourself requiring any further clarifications about MWF's automation features, or you would like a one-on-one demonstration to learn how we can impact your projects, then feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details will be provided along with a recording of this webinar tomorrow via email. And having said that, I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we hope you have a great day ahead.
Thank you, everyone.